All right, everyone, we're gonna get started. I know that there's some people trickling in, but I recognize that we have a pretty packed schedule at this moment. So allow me to introduce myself. My name is Graham Sucha. I'm the Community Outreach Specialist here at Cyberra. I'm going to be emceeing this event. Before we begin, I do want to acknowledge the Indigenous people of all the lands that we are on today. From all corners of this province, we acknowledge the ancestral and unceded territory of all the Inuit, Métis, and First Nations people that call this land home. While we are all meeting today on a virtual platform, with the majority of us joining from Treaty 6, 7, and 8, I would like to take this moment to acknowledge the importance of reconciliation and collaboration. And at Cyberra, and I know that everyone who's joining us here today, we do this to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility in improving our relationships between nations and improving our own understanding of local Indigenous peoples and their culture. Now, for the past 4 years, the Data Science for Albertans program has worked to encourage the adoption of data science throughout Alberta while helping emerging data scientists gain experience in their fields. And one thing that we recognize is that we can't do this alone. That in an ecosystem like Alberta's, it takes many hands to carry heavy loads. And for some, our services can only help in a certain way. But for others, there may be another organization that's better suited to support you in your journey, which is why we are pleased that so many of our ecosystem partners throughout Alberta have joined us here today to provide you with an overview of their services and supports. So before we jump into our first presenter, I do want to mention that to keep yourselves muted, don't feel pressured to keep your cameras on at any point. And if you have any questions that arise during these presentations, please put them in the chat and we'll cover them at the end of all of the overviews. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first speaker, which is Derek Armstrong from Western Diversification, which I believe is now known as Prairie Economic Development of Canada. So Derek, I'd like to welcome you to take the floor.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Graham, and happy to be here. And yeah, the first thing I was going to say is that I guess I'm no longer Western Economic Diversification, but those in the ecosystem will probably not notice much of a difference. But we were, as never happens in government, a reorg occurred yet again. So we used to be Western Economic Diversification, which covered British Columbia and the 3 prairie provinces, and now BC is given its own regional economic development agency, and we are Prairies Can, so Alberta, Manitoba, Saskatchewan. The good thing for everybody is that it's no secret that our budget has now increased because of that, because BC has been given its own budget, and Prairies Can has been given its old budget without BC, so that's a good thing. I'm the manager of Innovation Ecosystems Alberta South, so based in Calgary, and a manager of a growing team. I'll probably have about 5-6 people in my team, and I look at a variety of different programs, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. So as everyone probably knows, Prairies Can is a regional economic development agency, so that's what we do. Our mandate is to diversify the economy of Western Canada. We do so many different ways. I think everyone knows us best as an investor, so we have grants and contributions programs, and that's kind of our mostly our day-to-day work. But we do a lot of different things in the innovation ecosystem. So we do a lot of advising, we do a lot of pathfinding, do a lot of convening. Our budget is fairly limited, and there's a lot of different programs out there, especially even within the federal government. So we do a lot of that pathfinding and try to kind of access those larger sources of funding that come out of Ottawa, oftentimes at the West, is definitely underrepresented sometimes. So we have our own programs, but we do a lot of pathfinding for organizations, not-for-profits and for-profits. But I will talk about specifically our offering. So there's 2 ways that we support the innovation ecosystem. We have programs specifically tailored to not-for-profit organizations and for-profit organizations. So how we indirectly support SMEs is by supporting nonprofits. Our nonprofit funding is called the Regional Innovation Ecosystems. And that program, it's the good thing about that is if it's a nonprofit applicant, it's non-repayable. And we will support nonprofits to then support SMEs in the ecosystem. So we do a lot of investments into universities, accelerators, incubators, industry associations, and so forth. So we really encourage SMEs, startups, scale-ups to really access the services provided by these organizations, such as Cybera, who does such great work, because that's how we are indirectly supporting SMEs. And with public funds, you're able to access it at a much lower cost than if probably we weren't helping support those programs. And then we also have a program for for-profit organizations. So that's, I should mention that the not-for-profit funding stream is just continuous intake. So you would come to me, I'm the manager of that program, and we talk about a specific project. I take it internally, we have a specific process. It's just continuous intake. We just take applications continuous basis. Whereas our for-profit side of things, the business scale productivity, that's a intake process. So we typically have about 3 intakes there. It's more, I think this session today is more tailored on, earlier stage companies. I think with BSP, it's more mid stage to late stage, but that's okay. Like, honestly, I always provide the example of, there's a company that I literally talked to 2 years ago, met them at a trade show or an event. They were too early stage. I kept in touch with them for 2 years, LinkedIn, had periodic meetings, and now they're going to be successful through this for-profit stream. So it's never too early to start talking to government agencies such as ourselves. Even if you think you are too early right now, it's great. It's great to introduce yourself, and so we can kind of get to know you. So, this might be a little bit later stage. It's for high growth companies that are already in revenues, and it's, like I said, it's quite competitive. So we have 3 intakes a year. It's repayable. So the difference between a nonprofit and for-profit is the non-repayable versus repayability. Great terms. So you would spend Prairies Can's money, and then you repay it back over a 5-year period after that. So on a monthly basis, interest-free, no security taken, no collateral taken, no strings attached. So it's a great way for companies to use the funds to scale up, and then you repay back the public funds. So that is pretty much what we do. I can get into, if anyone has questions, specific questions on either the nonprofit or for-profit side of things, how we assess the applications, elements of strong applications, I can really get into a lot of those details. Like, I have a lot of bilats with companies and organizations and really kind of walk them through the process and, explain all the different ways and things that we look at. The other thing that people might want to have a look at is that we do have a new program right now called the Jobs and Growth Fund. So that's kind of COVID specific. It's more about recovery. So the RIE and the BSP program, those are our core programs. Those don't go away. Those are just kind of ongoing, but we do kind of administer different programs on an ad hoc basis. I don't know if people might have heard of the Regional Recovery and Relief Fund, RRF. That's one that we did. And now it's more about recovery. So we have a Jobs and Growth Fund that's online on our website. It's there. It's open to for-profit and not-for-profits, actually. And the aim of that fund is to create jobs to recover from COVID-19. So yeah, nice to be here today and happy to take any questions later. But I think that gives you guys a good sense of what Prairies Can does. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. We're now going to move to Kevin DeHall, who is an advisor at Platform Calgary. Now, recently, Startup Calgary actually joined the Platform umbrella, and Platform additionally has a new entrepreneurial center that's opening this fall. So I'd like to invite Kevin to join us to chat about the supports that Platform has to offer for the ecosystem as well.
Fantastic. Thanks for having me. Dalia shared some slides with me, if that's all right, if I share my screen and go through those.
Absolutely. You should be able to have control.
Okay, perfect. just wanted to make sure that was all right. If I don't have the slides, I'll just wind up talking way too long. So this is going to keep me on track. So yeah, thank you. My name is Kevin Dahl. I'm an advisor with Platform Calgary. I've spent the last 15, well, really 20 years of my career working in and around startups and entrepreneurs. So my role at Platform, in addition to having my own startup, my own company, I get to work with early stage entrepreneurs to help them build and grow their startups. So Platform Calgary, oh yeah, my slide did move forward there. So our vision is building a shared prosperity for Calgarians by making Calgary a global hub for startups and innovation. So we're all about working with people who are building the next economy. And we've set a couple big goals that we're working together within the community to achieve. So the first one is to 10x the rate of startup creation and scaling. So right now we've got, at any given time, we've got about 200 startups operating in Calgary. We're trying to get that number up to 2,000 over the next 10 years. And by doing that, it'll actually allow us to triple the size of the tech sector in Calgary. So that'll take us up to, 1,000 scaling companies, which really, if you look at benchmarks from around the world, that puts us at average. So we're just trying to play catch up initially over the next 10 years, but that'll set the stage for the future diversification and the future next economy that we're looking to build here in Alberta. So we tend to focus on the overall health and performance of Calgary's startup ecosystem. So we try to work with all parts of the ecosystem to make sure that they're better resourced, connected, efficient, and that their programs are really effective and prominent. We directly offer some of our programs to entrepreneurs as well. And we often deliver those programs in partnership with other organizations that support entrepreneurs as well, especially when it comes to later stage startups and accelerator types of programming. And we do operate public spaces dedicated to convening and supporting innovators. This is where the collisions happen. This is where the magic happens. And as you kind of alluded to earlier, we do have the new Platform Innovation Center that will be opening, soft opening this fall, open to the public early 2022. We're thinking January, but I've got some more slides on that as well here. So we currently are tracking 783 tech companies in Calgary. And that ranges from early stage startups to mature established companies. And our goal, as I mentioned, is to really grow the volume of startups and mature tech companies that we have in Calgary. And we really try to do that through 3 different ways: programs, place, and partners. So with programs, as I mentioned earlier, we do run some of our own programs around stage and sector agnostic or sector specific education. We're really trying to provide advice and connect these entrepreneurs in Calgary globally. So if you need mentorship around ideation, launching, or scaling, that's where our programs are really geared to deliver. So we kind of look at it and break them down into 3 main buckets, I guess you could say. Early stage programming, we have a lot of on-ramps through Startup Calgary, which is now part of Platform Calgary, and some of the other programming that you see listed here. We have our launch stage, which is where entrepreneurs are now committed. They're kind of quitting their day jobs, they're focusing on their startups, and now they're really committed to launching. And then some of the later stage programming around scaling is focusing on the challenges that entrepreneurs have as you get to that point where you're now in market, you've got customers, you're hiring, you're trying to build culture, you're trying to increase that sales funnel. So the programs kind of are more aligned there for you when you reach that stage. We also have some partnerships that we work in each one of these 3 buckets. That's kind of the green bar that you see across the bottom. And we do have our focus is really around that pre-acceleration stage. So the on-ramping and the launching is where you'll find most of the Platform Calgary programming. Just some quick numbers. So this was our work that we put together early 2021. So this is the entrepreneurs that we're working with directly here. So we worked with over 505 entrepreneurs in 2020 through COVID. We had a lot of one-on-one advisor hours. This is where, it's kind of unstructured. It's not a program, but, entrepreneurs are reaching out, asking to speak with people like myself and others on the team about their business and how they can navigate and move things forward. And just some stats there. Our Junction program, which is kind of our key pre-accelerator program that we run, we saw some amazing stats through 2020 from companies that have graduated from that program, which has been around for about 3 years. So, while COVID was definitely not a positive force for most companies, there is a little bit of a silver lining in that a lot of these early stage companies and founders were able to pivot and continue to grow, continue to hire and build their businesses here in Calgary. And this is just a quick highlight, zoomed in at that early tech company stage, kind of the 1 to 5 employees. We've worked with quite a few of them, and our goal is to continually be engaging with the community and trying to work with and support as many as possible. In terms of place, as we talked about earlier, we have a purpose-built hub that we're going to be welcoming the community to later this year and early next year. So this is a rendering, although I should have updated this because there's real pictures of the space now. But if you've been down to the new Central Library lately, this is a look kind of looking south from, I believe it's 4th Street Southeast. I could be wrong. I can't remember the exact street, but if you walk out of the main public library doors, look across 9th Ave looking south, you can't miss our building. It's got, it looks like a big oval track. It is part parkade. So we occupy the first 2 floors, 50,000 square feet of space dedicated to innovators. And then the remaining 5 floors above are actual parkade space for now. But we have the ability to convert those into fully commercial or residential ready spaces as we grow. And our goal is that as we work over the next 10 years to grow the community here in Calgary, the need becomes such that we actually convert those floors back over into space for innovators. So currently on the first floor, it's all about community. We're going to have, and I know I'm kind of hyping it up a little bit, but we're going to have the best pitch stage in all of Calgary. 450 person capacity. You can view it from above. You can view it from below. We've got NACO, the National Angel Capital Organization, setting up their investor lounge that will have VIP viewing on the pitch stage. So we're hoping to bring any companies that are pitching, any organizations that hold entrepreneur and startup pitch events. We want to bring them in and have them use this space. And on the second floor, we've got very highly customizable space for programs and partnerships to deliver everything from classroom type workshops all the way through to large events that bring together the community. And last but not least, partners. So this is really what it's all about. We're not going to be doing all the events in this space. It's about bringing together the right partners to make that happen. And so far, we've got over 50 partners who we've aligned with, who we have working relationships with, who are going to be delivering events and workshops in the space. So through this list of partnerships that continues to keep growing, we've got reach to over 17,000 individuals in and around Calgary who are all looking to support startups and entrepreneurs. So that's it for me here today. I'm definitely open to connect and would be happy to chat more about what we do and how we can help you get tapped into what's happening in Calgary.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Kevin, for this presentation. And it's really exciting to kind of see the Innovation Center takes shape. And I'm sure many of us are excited to visit it here as well.
I did get a request in the chat here about if I will share my slides. I'm happy to provide that, and you can share it out to everybody on the call here today.
Perfect, excellent. I know that some of the presenters too have commented that they'll have slide decks to share. So once this is concluded, probably by Monday because it is a Friday, we'll send out the slide decks for all those who participated, so that people have the resources that they can find. I would like to introduce David Chan from Amii to join us. Amii is an Alberta-based organization that partners with companies all sizes across industries to drive innovative strategies and provides practical guidance and advice, corporate training and talent recruitment, specifically in the AI space. And on a personal level, Dr. Chan was instrumental in actually launching this Data Science for Albertans fellowship that we have here today. So I will invite Dr. Chan to join us here today.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for the introduction, Graham. That's way too formal, but it's really nice to be back in touch with everyone and back here as part of the fellowships for sure. I'm a big fan of the fellowships. Maybe I'm biased, but I definitely love the program and see a lot of potential in it. So really excited to be back here. Today, I'll tell you a bit about the Alberta Machine Intelligence Institute. And Graham, you can see my slides, yes? Perfect. I'll tell you a bit about the Alberta Machine Intelligence Institute and how we potentially fit into the ecosystem here and with some of the work that you've been doing. Amii is a not-for-profit organization. We were established in 2017 as part of the first national AI strategy. Canada actually led the way in 2017, and since then lots of other national AI strategies have followed. We were selected as a not-for-profit site along with 2 other organizations across the country, one of them being Mila in Montreal and the other one being the Vector Institute in Toronto. And all 3 not-for-profits were set up there because it ties into research excellence that was built up over many, many years in those provinces. And we basically want to use the knowledge and the expertise, that leading edge that we have in AI research in order to translate that into industry adoption and create a vibrant AI ecosystem here in Alberta. The goal is that in turn, as we build this vibrant AI ecosystem of companies that are using AI and machine learning, that really the 2 pillars will drive each other. So the idea is that, we have this edge in leading edge research. How can we translate that into more industry adoption and making AI and ML a competitive driver for industry? And in turn, as we build up that sector, we hope that drives more leading edge research and helps us build that edge that we've built up over the years. Here are a few numbers that help highlight what we've accomplished over the years and where we're at in our mission, so to speak. In particular, I wanted to sort of draw your attention on a couple of numbers here. For one, the industry investment in research, hopefully speaking to that pillar that I just presented about industry adoption and how industry investing in research internally will also help drive the continued research into AI and ML right here in Alberta. And then secondly, the other piece that's really relevant for the audience here is the 75+ formal partnerships that we have with industry and the engagements that we've done with industry. And this is a bit of a logo soup that shows some of the companies that we've worked with over the years. I wanted to specifically highlight 3 of these, which I think really nicely capture the collaborative roles that some of the organizations that are present here play in the Alberta ecosystem. The ones that I'll highlight will touch on sort of how Cyberra and Amii really play collaborative and complementary roles in the ecosystem. But there's also organizations here like Mitacs, and we could draw on several examples there as well about the great work that some groups like Mitacs and how that are doing and how that ties into the ecosystem and how we collaborate with each other. And so the 3 companies that I want to highlight, the first one there being Fredible. Fredible is a startup company that early on was supported by Cyberra and was able to take advantage of the compute resources that Cyberra provided in order to really kickstart the AI research that they were doing into working with music and deep learning. And then from some of that work that they did with Cyberra, they also went on to work with Amii as part of the Innovation Affiliates program that Amii ran at that time. And so to help further build out some of the capacity that they had at Fredible. The second example that I'll draw on is in the bottom right here, a company called Sonata. And they actually began their data science journey with Cyberra, doing a sprint, much like potentially what some of the companies here did during the data science fellowship program, where they thought there might be an application for AI and machine learning within their business, but weren't quite sure yet. Cyberra really helped them kickstart that through the work that they did together with them. And then from there, they went on to work with Amii as well, where we helped them find some talent to bring on board with their company and then help guide them as they took their journey further into AI and ML. And today, AI and ML is tied into their product and deployed with numerous companies that they work with. So a really cool story there as well about how we play complementary roles. And then the third example is Okaki. And Okaki, in its early days, took full advantage of the services that Cyberra had to offer in terms of being a catalyst in this ecosystem and help them push forward their digital initiatives. And then Okaki as well went on to work with Amii to bring on the right data science and AI talent and we helped them helped coach and mentor them as they built out their AI solution. And what's really cool there actually is that we just recently published a joint paper highlighting some of the work that we did there on predicting adverse effects that could come out of opioid prescriptions there. So it's really cool to be here, and I'm really glad that Cyberra invited us and brought some of the players together, because I do think we really have a neat ecosystem, and it's really cool how some of the partners can work together to really help companies along in their AI and ML/data science journey. Speaking specifically to what Amii does and how we can assist, so we try to help companies move up what we call the AI adoption spectrum. So companies might be just starting to understand how data science, machine learning fits into their business, and we try to help them make those connections, figure out where it fits in, if there is a fit, and where the opportunities lie, and then help you move up that adoption spectrum so you can really make AI and ML a competitive driver for your business. And the stream that I work in, and the team that I lead, works primarily with companies that are in the earlier stages of the AI adoption spectrum. And what we can do with companies in those areas is take you from ideation of ideas, thinking about how AI and ML fits into your business, then plan out those projects further and take it further towards implementation. So provide some of that coaching and mentoring as you're starting to implement some of those projects. For those of you coming out of the fellowship program, I think you're in a fantastic position, because you really have a solid understanding of what AI data science can and cannot do potentially for you. You probably have more questions coming out of this than you ever thought you'd have. But that's also an awesome opportunity, because you must understand the field and where you can potentially take this so much more. And so I see, lots of opportunities about how we could potentially work together and help you further flesh out those ideas and mature the models that you're starting to put together and implement there. I also specifically wanted to highlight a couple of programs that we're taking applications for right now. One of them, the first one, is the REMI program, which focuses on GHG emission reduction, and that's going to get going in the fall. And the second one is called Supply Chain AI West. And that one is also taking applications right now. And the reason why I wanted to highlight those is they're made possible through Government of Alberta funding grants, or the first one is, and the second one was made possible through a Scale AI supercluster grant. And so we try to make it as affordable and lower the barrier of entry as much as possible for companies to come in and participate in those programs. We also have other agreements, for example, with the IRAP to help make some of those engagements possible as well. So we'd love to explore opportunities and ideas that you might have to see how there might be a fit to help you in your data science and AI journey along. And that's pretty much all that I had there. So I'm happy to connect with anyone who would like to connect further. You can either reach us at partnerships@amii.ca. That will go to sort of our partnerships team. But of course, if you want to reach out directly, you can reach me at david.chan@amii.ca. So thanks again, Graham, for having us. And that's all that I had to share.
Excellent. Thank you so much, David, for joining us here as well, too. So we're going to move on to our second part that's going to cover resourcing that's available to you at your disposal. So the next person I'd like to introduce is Angelo Moigi, and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that. I should be better with surnames. He's from Mitacs, and he's going to talk about opportunities for organizations that are wanting to leverage student employment. So Angelo, take it away.
Hi, Graham, and hi, everyone. My last name, it took me a while as well to learn my last name, so don't feel bad about it. And so it's good to see a lot of friendly faces. Some of you have met me, but I'm actually here with my colleagues, and we're trying to share one laptop, so this will be a little bit awkward, but one is Sarah Toff. And
hello, everyone.
And then I'm also here with Annie.
Hi, everyone.
We did it. Okay. And just we're just kind of trying to maintain distance, etc. Okay, I'll share with you a little bit about Mitacs. Some of you have already used Mitacs, but I'll just quickly give you an overview. Let me see if my screen works. Perfect. All right. So Mitacs, who we are a national not-for-profit organization. We spread across Canada, and our mandate is fairly simple. We support innovation in Canada, and we do this by bringing industry and post-secondary institution together to develop R&D project or innovation projects, let's call it, just to make it a bit broader, which solve challenges or that businesses might be facing. So we've been around for about 20 years, and we are scattered across the country. So Mitacs, I usually like to tell people that no matter where you are, whether you are in Calgary, Vancouver, Toronto, Ottawa, there is always somebody from Mitacs that is watching you. So we are in every major university, and we are connected to pretty much every post-secondary institution across the country. Who we serve, we work with startups. So we're connected to incubators, accelerators, so the entrepreneurial community, but we work with businesses, SMEs, not-for-profit organizations, large organizations. Right now, we're also even, more recently, we extended our eligibility to be able to work with hospitals and municipalities. And of course, like I said, our talent pool comes from our academic institutions across Canada. So what we do is two things. Number one, we provide financial support. So we bring money to the table, and then we can help organizations tap into our research talent. So anytime, organizations come to us with different needs, you're trying to develop something. It could be hardcore R&D projects, or it could be something a little bit lighter that is more on, it's innovative. It may not be R&D, but you're trying to do something new, something different. So you can come to us, and you think you would like to tap into university talent, college students, whatever that looks like. And so we're able to give you access to those folks, and at the same time we put some money in the pot. A good way to visualize it, and this is pretty much the takeaway I would say here. It's anytime you think about Mitacs, you've got this sort of triangle that you're seeing here. On one end, on the industry side, there is an organization, so it can be, like I said before, for-profit or not-for-profit. It could even be a hospital, a municipality, and you could have, you may even have a cluster of organizations on the side. So you might be working together on different projects, and so that's the industry side. And on the other end, on the academic side, you've got an academic supervisor, a researcher, a professor, and then an intern or multiple interns. So you can make this as big as you want. The starting size of a Mitacs project is 16 weeks. So that's kind of like the smallest size. We also have some new programmings that allow us to maybe do some assessment type projects that might be shorter than 16 weeks. But if you have anything like that, we can chat about it. But in general, we start at 4 months. And I'll give you an example of one of our programs because it's the most popular, but we have quite a few other programs. And today, this is quite short, so I don't have time to go into that. But the way you want to think about it is imagine modules, so periods of 4 to 6 months. Each of those periods, you get an intern to work with you on a particular challenge, particular project. The total grant is $15,000. $7,500 is what comes from the partner organization, and Mitacs will match with $7,500. Now, we currently we have a discount that is available for organizations that are less than 500 employees. So I think most people in the room would probably fit that bill. And we can lower that contribution of $7,500. We can take it down to by 50%, so $3,750. And this is just while quantities last. I know that it sounds a little bit like a sales pitch, but no, our funding comes from government, and we do have limited of those discounts that we can provide. But It's great way to help SMEs get started on a project, and that discount is applicable to the first period of the project. So you can take now this unit and you can go ahead and build a project as big as you want it. So you can have multiple segments of this, and which means that if you stack them together, you'll see you could have multiple interns, you could have multiple institutions, it could be a multi-year project. You can be pretty much as big as you need it. We are here, our team is here to kind of help frame, understand what you're trying to accomplish, and maybe you might already have some connections that you want to leverage, or we might be able to introduce you to some of those researchers. But we want to say thank you for our funding partners. Our funding comes from federal government and the various provinces. And the last one is our email addresses. You can contact us via email. You can find us on LinkedIn. By the way, we were really excited to see the platform spot. I know, Kevin, you were talking about it, and I guarantee it's phenomenal. We were just on the top looking at the view, and it's great. So we're really excited for what's happening here in Calgary.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Angelo, for this informative presentation. We're now going to jump to Ahmed Bashir from Westgrid, who's going to discuss technological resources that they are able to provide throughout Western Canada. So,
great, thanks. Thanks for the introduction. Let me just share my screen here. I'm gonna have to navigate. Sorry, excuse me. Google Chrome. Okay. All right, I believe you can see this now. So let me just put it in presentation mode. All right, yeah, thank you very much for the introduction. My name is Ahmed Bashir. I'm the Director of Strategy and Partnership Development at Westgrid. So I'll talk a little bit about Westgrid, give you an overview, and then I'll tell you about some of the things that we're trying to do for the SME community. But it's also just to recognize, great to see some of the partners and some of the stakeholders from the ecosystem here as well. So you'll probably see some of their names on my slides. So what is Westgrid, or who we are? We are a regional partner of Compute Canada. And if you haven't heard of Compute Canada, it's the entity responsible to provide support to all academic researchers across all Canada. And us being in the West, so we're kind of responsible from Manitoba all the way to BC. We do have our own central staff, but we also work very closely with the site staff, you want to call them, who work directly at the universities. And we provide the support to all academic researchers. Today, so the way we've positioned ourselves is that really our vision is to be that catalyst to accelerate innovation in Western Canada. And it's kind of broad, but it's really innovation could come obviously from the SMEs as well as come from the academic institutions. And I'll talk a little bit about that later on. So what we do today is that we do provide the, it's called advanced research computing, or in some other slides you'll see I refer to it as DRI, which is digital research infrastructure. Regardless, it's really the providing infrastructure, the hardware, the software, the tools, as well as a bunch of other layers on top of that. We provide training, we provide support, we provide some expertise. It's really to help the academic researchers use all these resources to solve some really complex scientific problems, or could be, social or humanities research that they're doing, etc. So it really grows across different domains as well. And so if you want to think about the layer cake resources here, the infrastructure is one of them. The expertise that we do have, I'm not going to go into details of each one of these here, and then obviously we do provide training. So we do have 2 training specialists who can help PhD students, academic professors, graduate students who are working on the research, but they need that extra help with how to work with high performance computing, how to do machine learning, AI, how to do specific programming when it comes to digital resources like this. Now, what we are working on, and this is what is more relevant to the industry or to the SME community, we are working on Integrid, which is really an initiative to create a platform specific to helping industry organizations. Today, we don't own any of the infrastructure that we just talked about. These are kind of located at academic institutions and owned, funded by the Canadian government, and some of it funded by the academic institutions. So what we're aiming is to actually build our own infrastructure, and we're working with WD, we're working with other stakeholders as well, but really the purpose of this is to help SMEs innovate. But to innovate, you might want to tackle specific challenges or specific opportunities or specific problem that you're trying to solve, whether it's scientific or social or technical or business challenge that you're facing. And the main, one of the focus points of this of Integrid is also obviously innovation and research and all that, but at the same time, we want to see it drive economic growth in Western Canada. And we see ourselves positioned in a bigger ecosystem. And in order for this to work and happen, we have to work with all the other stakeholders. We are really one piece of the puzzle. But really, you see in the middle, it's really the focus is the industry. That's who we want to help. That's who we want to assist with their research and innovation. And around it, in order for us to work, we have to collaborate with obviously governments, academic institutions, and industry partners. And maybe I'll talk a little bit about that, how we work with them. But right around it, just as important, also all the other stakeholders, like Mitacs here. We have good relationship with Mitacs. SOCIP is another successful model, just like what we're trying to do here as Integrid. It's in Ontario. It's been there running for about 10 years. We can leverage their expertise. We're learning from them. Innovation hubs, vendors, etc. So we're really part of that ecosystem, and we believe that we have to collaborate to help the SME community. And the way we see it is that if Integrid provides, here on the left, provides all these resources, providing the infrastructure from technologies, to provide connection to the highly qualified personnel, probably through Mitacs or otherwise, provide the training, then the organizations can innovate. They can, improve their processes, reduce costs, commercialize products and services. They can focus on their actual challenge, on their innovation, on their opportunities. And then that will essentially, eventually drive economic growth, increasing revenue, commercializing and selling your products within Canada, nationally, or maybe internationally. Create more jobs, retain highly qualified personnel, etc., and that will drive economic growth. And so the model is that we believe that, again, it's going to be a layer cake type of services. So at the bottom, you'll see, different buckets of really resources, infrastructure resources. Some organizations have their technical expertise. All they need is just resources to reduce their costs. We're not trying to replace, and this is an important note here, we're not trying to replace AWS and the Google Clouds and the Microsofts. What we are here is to help SMEs, startups, entrepreneurs, as they're innovating and working on their challenges and opportunities at their early stage of that innovation. Once that is up and running and they want to go operational, that's when they probably can transfer over to the big cloud services. And so we're actually working with these providers as well to figure out how we can collaborate and have them also help SMEs at the early stages as well. So this is high level now, but basically what we're looking for at projects would be industry-led, or it could be collaborative. So if there's a project in your organization, but you also need to have partnership with an academic institution, we definitely could accept those projects. There has to be some kind of innovation or a development of an idea. And once these projects are submitted, then we have to, take a look and review and all that, and figure out, what capacities are you looking for, and what kind of services are you looking for as well from us, and how we can help you. It is across all industries and sectors, so we're not really specific on one, and prefer to see some sort of skills development, but it's not a mandatory requirement. So the value to SMEs, obviously access to research, digital, infrastructure at a fraction of the cost of what you might have to pay to commercial services. Given our close relationship with the academic institutions, we could connect and figure out a way how to get you access to highly qualified personnel or to research expertise. I know Amii here, again, we do have good connection with Amii. And also potentially just be able to connect with the innovation ecosystem as well. So we could definitely help in partnership with other companies, with academic institutions, etc. One last thing to note here is that this is something that we're working on today, and we're working very closely with our ecosystem stakeholders, as well as, most importantly, for funding purposes with WD. And so this is not operational yet, but we hope that this will happen soon, and we'll be able to start helping SMEs across the West. This is my email address, so if you do have any questions or you'd like to discuss, please email me and we can set up something, or if there are some time later on for questions, I'm happy to answer as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ahmed, for this presentation as well. Our final speaker will be Griselda Surk-Moro from ISAIC, who will be discussing the opportunities you can use to leverage their services if you're looking for different opportunities for cloud computing services as well too. Griselda?
Thank you, Graham. Okay, I'll try to share my screen. I think this is it. And then this is my presentation. I'll just present it. Okay, so sorry, I just need to, there we go. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Griselda, and there's also Omid and Chris from Industry Sandbox. And we would like to also thank you for Cybera for hosting this event where we can speak to you as an audience, but also for the Cybera Fellowship Program, which supports the companies and also talents to learn more about AI computing. Please feel free to choose the chat function to ask us any questions. Now, to start with, ISAIC stands for Industry Sandbox and AI Computing. We are a service provider housed at the University of Alberta. So we provide, for example, GPUs, CPUs, VMs, so computational resources for Western Canadian SMEs, startups, and also AI instructors. We are founded by doers, collaborators, principal investigators, working with entrepreneurs, commercializing technology. It is our goal to make AI accessible with SMEs projects, startups projects, and others in the community with our sandbox, garage, and hub. Now, this is a big diagram, but essentially what it is that the current offerings in the market. And what we learned from our clients is that some of them do not feel comfortable with what is out there. So some of them didn't have time to read the fine prints in the terms and conditions, as well as other documents. So they have difficulties in utilizing the market current offerings. But ISAIC is different in a way that you can think of us as the friendly cyberhood cloud provider. And by that, we mean that our client has trust in us, because what happens is that they reach to us because they know there's a person behind it, but also they know that we do not own the intellectual property, as well as we do not charge the data egress fees, which can cost you thousands of dollars at the very least when you switch providers. Now, how are we different than the others? So this might be a helpful diagram because there are many organizations right now. So ISAIC, Cybera, Amii, and AltaML works together to build the AI community, but we have different target markets, as you can say, and also the value propositions. So for example, Alta ML is offering turnkey solutions, and Amii, as presented before, they provide the training for the client's talents. And Cybera focuses on connectivity and also ideations in the beginning. So you can see the fellowship program, for example. Meanwhile, ISAIC is here to realize your AI projects through infrastructure and applied knowledge support. Now here's our offering. We offer AI Garage, Data Sandbox, and Hub. We do offer GPUs, CPUs, and VMs. There are the on-demand and also dedicated. So based on your need, ultimately we build a safe environment where you can test, but also build your proof of concept. So and on top of that, we also provide the tailored solutions, because we want to give you the high touch points when we connect with you. And one of the other issues that you might be concerned about is actually security. With ISAIC, we comply to Hack VAT and also NIST, the cloud provider checklist. Our pricing, it is laddered. We do have supplemental pricing for, depending on your circumstances. So as you can see on the right side, there are hourly on demand, for example, or maybe dedicated monthly and dedicated yearly. So I will try to give you an example. So one of our clients, they are pre-revenue startup and they want to commercialize a health product. Now, we mentioned to them that with ISAIC, not only we are local and we do not have the data egress fees, but also we offer the on-demand hourly, so that's quite flexible. And also we offer containerization. So the moral of the story here is that ISAIC is very tailored based in terms of offering the solutions. Now, in terms of getting to contact us, what you can do is set up a call, so discovery call with us. And from there on, we can verify on your basic requirements, system requirements, and then we can agree on sign-on confidentiality. And then the third step is for you to onboard with us, and we will give you the ongoing support with high touch points. I would like to end with with any questions if you have, and also this is the contact for ISAIC. And if you notice, there's also a QR code in my background, so you can also scan that. So either email us or contact us for further information. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that presentation. Again, if you have any questions, throw them in the chat here. One question that I always like to kind of ask, because I think it gives some good context to some of the services that you provide, and this is for everyone who's joined us here, is do you have any, could you potentially share one of your biggest success stories of an organization that's worked individually with you? And since I can already see Griselda still, I'll throw it to her if she has any, or if she wants to supplement to some of the colleagues here as well.
Yes, for ISAIC, for example, actually, we do have some clients that we work together. So for example, Okaki, that I think David mentioned before. Yeah, they're also our client. And we also have EHS as one of our clients. And other than that, there are more. And I welcome my colleagues too, if they want to comment and share the story.
So yes, I'm Umida Jasani. I'm the ML analyst at ISAIC. So essentially, during the course of the data science fellowship, there were some VMs, CPU-only VMs that were provided to the fellows. They were provided from ISAIC. So, so we have those kind of solutions at ISAIC, and SMEs and researchers can also get hold of dedicated GPU-based machines. These are fast GPUs like Tesla V100s. Most of our clients have been using services from Amazon or elsewhere, and for the same kind of pricing at the same level, same grade of pricing, they mentioned that even with the same type of GPU, they are getting better services, which is due to both the IT support that we have locally providing for the clients, and you essentially have an email that you can reach out and we can work on you to set up your services, your software needs, and troubleshoot any issues that you have. And also the services not being over provisioned means that they perform faster. So you have a faster testing, training, and development, which would be also bringing down your costs of developing the solutions that you have. So as testimonials, we have some of the testimonials posted on our website. So I encourage everyone to go to isaic.ai and see for themselves what clients do we have and book a discovery with us. And yeah, that's it.
Excellent. Throw to Derek if you want to have a shot at the question.
Yeah, well, it's hard to pick one because we have so many, we fund a lot of organizations, nonprofit, for-profit, but I was actually looking at, we have a success story portion of our website, and we've provided funding to Circle Cardiovascular to do AI stuff. We've provided support to Alta ML as well. So lots of different organizations that we support out there. On the nonprofit side, we do a lot of different things across all sectors. So, digital industries is one, but we do a lot of clean tech stuff outside of, this space. But yeah, we have quite a few. Thank you.
Kevin from Platform.
Sorry, the question for
based around kind of if you give an example of a local success story.
Oh, yes. Sorry. Where do we start? There's been so many interesting companies that we've worked with. I think if I had to pick one, I think we've worked with quite a few companies. An interesting one that jumps to mind was Provision Analytics, who worked with us a few years ago as they were looking to establish a little more of a clear strategy around their marketing and direction. And they worked with us through the BDA program and got some work done around the sort of market readiness and market survey. And they've since now gone on to raise Series A and are helping to get better tracing and food tracing and accountability around the world.
Excellent, thank you. David from Amii.
Yeah, sounds good. I gave a few examples during my presentation, but a couple more that come to mind. One of them actually that's kind of neat is Blind Man Brewing, which is a small brewing company here out of Alberta. They're sort of really early on in the adoption spectrum and started thinking about how they can use AI and ML in their business. And so they worked with us to do some brainstorming about finding opportunities where it might fit in. And then interestingly, they're interested in carbon capture actually from their brewing process and seeing how they can be more environmentally conscious. And so we identified some opportunities there that we explored with them, scoped out with them, and that they are still investigating now. They haven't implemented any of that, but we worked with them so they can understand what kind of data they should be collecting and how they should be thinking about their problem to hopefully set them up for future success going forward. So that's one really neat example, I think, of a smaller company. We've also worked with sort of other companies along the spectrum as well. For example, Imperial Oil, they had a sort of an engineer that's reskilling to go into work more in data science. So they actually went through a training program with Amii, and then from there went into building a machine learning proof of concept. And they did that sort of with supervision and guidance from one of our more experienced scientists. So that's another really cool, really like that example because it showcases sort of how we can help with the reskilling and then also continue the mentorship as they actually execute a project. That's sort of an example in the middle. And then on the far researchy side of things, we're doing some work actually with Adabotics, and that's really neat because it's sort of a joint endeavor with Adabotics and Alta ML and Amii. And there we're sort of really focused on that deep end of things where we're taking on more of a research project with that company.
Excellent. And Ahmed from Westgrid.
Yeah, I mean, we do have a couple of examples. We don't, given that we're not operational yet with InnoGrid, we haven't worked as much with the industry, but there is actually one, I might not be able to mention the name, but they work in clean energy. And so we were able to actually help them with some infrastructure needs. They do have their own resources, technical resources, but they were very happy to get our infrastructure resources to help them with some of their analytics and at a fraction of the cost. The other example I would say, we were able to provide custom training to actually a government entity here in BC, and they were looking for very special sort of training when it comes to using high performance computing. And so we were able to customize the training program for them, and we were able to actually provide that to about, I think they had about 25 to 30 people on their teams, and we did it over three days. And so that's also something that we could we can help industry with as well.
Excellent. And I recognize we're going over time, so I'm going to ask one last question. I'll ask everyone to rapid fire it kind of within 30 seconds or less if you can. And what would be the #1 trait you'd be looking for a startup who'd like to partner with you? And I'll throw back to Ahmed for this one.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
What traits would you be looking at for a startup or a smaller organization who would like to partner with you?
Yeah, I think we work right across all industries and sectors. I think we were mostly focused on small to medium businesses, as well, entrepreneurs and startups. I think the one most important trait is that there's probably something that they're trying to solve, like an innovation, a challenge. They're trying to commercialize new products and services, something innovative that they are working on. That's probably the #1 important thing that we look for.
Excellent. Griselda from ISAIC.
Thank you for the question. I think for ISAIC, what the traits that we're looking for, it's so the ideal, not the ideal, but the trait is more about like the companies or startups or SMEs that have AI projects they want to commercialize, but also it's they kind of know like it's a DIY project, so they kind of know like, okay, what's the next step, and also like what's the infrastructure they might need. But of course we provide also like consultations, but yeah, definitely that. Thank you.
Excellent. Kevin from Platform.
Yeah, I would say if I had to pick one, it would be curiosity. And the reason I would say that as a trait is, building a startup is a journey of learning and experimentation and growth. So, if we don't have any sector focus, we work with entrepreneurs, people with ideas who want to build something and change the world. So bring your curiosity and we're here to help.
Derek from Prairie's Camp.
It's so hard to choose one, Graham. Like I always cheat on these questions. I always provide more than one. Like we look at so many different things officially on all our applications: market potential, management capability, financial capacity, economic benefits. But I think for me, the one subjective one that I really, really value, I'm a people person, and I think it's that entrepreneurial spirit. I think with good people and energy and that spirit, I think you can overcome a lot of those, different kind of official things that we look at Prairie's Camp. Thanks.
Excellent. And last word, David from Amii.
I will actually piggyback a little bit on Kevin's answer. I think curiosity is a really important trait. I'll maybe augment that a little bit in terms of curiosity for how AI and ML fits within your business. And if you want to explore that more and go down that path and down that journey, I think that's a really important trait for us.
Excellent. And thank you all for joining us here today. I want to thank the supporting ecosystem partners who all took the time out of their busy lunch hour to join us for this presentation. As a note, some of the partners will be sending off some documentations to us to provide you with some additional resourcing that you may need or may be helpful for you. So we're going to share that with you on Monday of next week. And if you have any questions, we'll also be sharing some contact information that you can have to connect with these individuals who were joining us here today. So again, thank you all so much. I think Elliot from Hockey AI kind of said it best, where we have an amazing tech ecosystem that's world-class and growing quickly, and there's a lot of excitement to see. So thank you all so much.